Welcome to our channel. We're all about faith, family, home, and farm. Come on in and grab a chair and sit a spell with us. If you like readable versions of all of our content, be sure to check out both of our blogs. The links to our blogs will always be in the description box below our videos. Good morning, y'all. Today is a rendering tallow day. And probably halfway through tomorrow, too. It's kind of a process. Just like we rendered lard, we're going to render some tallow. Teddy, y'all, made some awesome steaks, ribs, hamburgers. Y'all, he did it all. He showed out. Perfectly marbleized steaks. Dear hubby's not really fond of New York strips, but the strips on him was marbleized. He was like, I think I like New York strip steaks now as long as we grow them like this. Y'all, this is what you can get. I'll put pictures at the end of just our freezer when we got Teddy back. The other half went to our son, of course, the one that helps run the cattle business. So, yeah, I'll put pictures of our freezer at the end. But we had 30 pounds of tallow. We've already rendered 20 pounds. And we're coming up with a process that we like. Now, we can do it just like we did our lard. But we kind of found another process that we like, and we may wind up doing our lard like this from now on. So, this is like what blood, sweat, tears, few little choice words here and there that you have to ask forgiveness for. Not me, though. Freezing cold days. Extremely hot index days where you're sweating in places you didn't know you had. Freezing cold days where your fingers are about to fall off because of frostbite. I'm talking, yeah, those kind of days. But it pays off. And I'll show you some of like what we've already got processed. This stage that I'm pouring up in the jars today. Then the beginning stages of the last 10 pounds we're going to do, and I'll try to walk you through the process. Okay, so let me go get some jars that's already jarred up and solidified. Y'all ready for this? Let me get you in a good light so you can get a good gander. Do y'all see that purity? That's what you want in your lard and your tallow. No sediments, no nothing. Beef tallow, sealed. That's what you want. Y'all, we've already been cooking with our lard, and now we've tried some things with our tallow. Awesome. Now let me show you the liquid gold before it solidifies. You ready for this? Look at that. Just like the lard. Look at that liquid gold. No sediments, no nothing. I think we like this process. And then if we get another hog, we will probably do our lard this way. Let me show you the tallow, the fat that's over here. This is the next 10 pounds. Y'all see them big chunks he produced? Look at that. This is still thawing out. We will go through. Dear hubby is going to open this up when it all thaws out, and he's going to take off the extra meat like this that the butcher didn't take off. So we're going to get the extra meat off like this. Do y'all see that marble? Look at that white streak. Do y'all see that marbleization? Teddy did a good job. He did a good job. He has blessed us well, and every time we sit down to eat a meal, we thank the Lord for Teddy and his sacrifice that is sustaining our bodies right now. On our own farm, born, raised, everything taken very good care of on our own farm. This is the first one we had processed. Thank you, Teddy. Yes, but it was a sad day on the farm. I had to comfort two little girls all day long because it kind of finally sunk in to country kids the sacrifice that animals do make to sustain our bodies. Yeah, so I was fine. I wasn't crying till they were crying, and then we were all crying and wiping snot and just, yeah, I had to console two country kids all day long. But that first time is hard on kids, y'all. You can prepare and prepare and prepare these kids to know what's going to happen to an animal that you literally helped raise and scratched on the head and scratched under the chin and named. It sunk in when they saw him pulling out of the driveway in the trailer. Oh my gosh. It was a sad day. But they've gotten used to it now. They have. And now they're like, please tell us which ones not to name and not to turn into pets. They're thinking, they're processing in their own way and whatever helps them to process. So we did draw some pictures and kind of like wrote a little story about Teddy to just help them kind of console them. And that helped. So yeah, we wrote a little book about Teddy. We sure did. We wrote a little book. We drawed pictures. I drew a picture of mine and my son's adventure with him the day he jumped the fence. And yeah, we had to get him back in and repair the fence. We all drew something that we can remember Teddy by. And we put together a little book about it, and I wrote the story, and they helped me think of things. But y'all, I will try to get a lot of the process. If I don't get video form, because dear hubby's going to be helping, and y'all know how he is about this camera up in his face, I'll try to at least get pictures of the process. The first process is going to be thawing this out, cubing it up into smaller pieces, because there were some big chunks. He was kind of husky. And getting the rest of the meat off. Now, what hubby does with the scrap meat, he is actually putting those in vacuum seal bags, and he can use that to go in with some other meats that he uses a little bit of the fat and a little bit of the meat for, and grinds them down into something else and makes something else with it, y'all. He's good. He can come up with some stuff. So he does save those scraps. And then we will get those in the crock pot and just let it render down. Okay? If I don't get to do video form, I will at least try to get pictures of the process as we go through this. I'm going to go ahead and show y'all. Freezer. You ready? All my canning equipment is down here, y'all. Give me just a second while I move some things. Okay, y'all ready? Oh. Here's some up here on the top. This is where we had the tallow. It took up this whole section up here. So here's some ground beef, some little fat scraps, a thing of ground beef. This is all full of ground beef. I don't know what's in here. I really don't. Yes. Steaks, chops, ribs. Yeah, it's all in here. Yeah. And then there's more hamburger meat over here, ground. This is what I was trying to find, one of these steaks in here. Let me see if I can find a good one. Do y'all see that marbleization? Do y'all see the marble in this steak. Let me turn it over. Oh, porterhouse. Do y'all see the marble in there? See that marble through the meat? That's what we like. They have studied and researched and gone to cattle meetings, everything, to better their program, how they do things, what they feed, how they feed, grasses to plant, native grasses to plant, fertilize, like you have a good program going, okay? I had a good program going when I raised dairy goats. My hard work was, when I came in, was I brought all that wonderful milk in, a couple of gallons and stuff, and strain it and get it as quickly into the refrigerator as possible. Strain it, to make sure there was no hair or sediments or anything. Of course, I always washed and sanitized the udders really good first. I kept my machine sanitized. And y'all, then I could turn around and take that milk and turn it into wonderful things like cheeses. Oh, y'all, I had some goat cheese that I could make 3 different ways. I made like a sweet version, a Southwest version, and an herb version. I had people loving my cheese. We drank the milk, ice cream, yogurt. That was what I was able to turn into a product. Now it's their turn to turn something into a product that comes back and benefits the home. My dairy goats were for dairy purposes. They were not for meat consumption. The better goats for that would be your meat goats like Boer goats. And our chickens gave the most wonderful eggs. Yes. Yeah, so we have all contributed to this farm. I contribute by helping grow the vegetables and process them the ways that I know how. This is living off your land to where you can become more self-sufficient. If you want to start out homesteading and living off your land and producing products for your own home, you just need to take the time to research, do your homework, ask questions, go to animal clinics, things like that, your UT extension office, 4-H clubs, FFA clubs. Get your children involved in FFA and 4-H. Just do your research. Start small. If you have to start small, like with a few chickens, do that. And then work your way up. Find your best milk source. We didn't do cows, so goats was a better option for me. I may wind up taking one of these cows out here and turn it into a milking cow. I don't know. Don't put it past me. I just might. And when dear hubby retires, I'm going back to having chickens. And we're going to produce our own chicken on the farm. Me and our other son has talked about doing the chickens and doing that together. And me and him will take care of that. Just my point being, start out small, work your way up, do a little section of your homestead at a time to get it animal ready. Just do your research. Now we're going to get to doing some more fat. Dear hubby got all the fat in the crock pot. We let it simmer all night on low, and this is what we woke up to. Oops, y'all, I'm going to have to talk you through this next part because I didn't get to film it because I had to keep my phone line open. I use my phone for filming, but I had to keep my phone line open because we might have been expecting a phone call from the school nurse. We knew that one of the granddaughters was not feeling good that morning, and I'm like, you know what, I'm not going to get heavily involved in recording and then have to stop and go pick up a granddaughter because she wasn't feeling good. So I missed this next part, so I'm going to talk you through it right quick. You saw after it simmering all night what it looked like. the liquid was separating from the fat chunks. So what we did was, after the crock pot cooled off, we took a big bowl, we put a colander inside it, we put a cheesecloth inside that, and we took all the what was inside the crock pot, and we strained all that liquid off into that bowl. Now, after we got some of that out, we put those scraps back into the crock pot, let it simmer a little while longer, and we drew even more oil out of it because it was just sitting there in the oil, okay? So we were able to get 2 strainings out. So we strained all of those scraps, and we collected all that liquid gold into that bowl, okay? And we did that twice. So now we let that cool off, and we save the fat scraps for the kitty cat. She'll get a treat every day. And all that oil we let cool off inside that bowl, put a lid on it, and we put it in the refrigerator to let it become a thick, hardened solid. And then y'all see what we do next with it. Now we take it out of the refrigerator, and this is what you get. A solid piece of fat, tallow, and this is what we're going to do next. And there's a reason for doing this right here, letting it become a solid, and then getting it out of the bowl. You'll see why in just a second when he gets one of these pieces out of here. You see that gel-like substance on the bottom? That is like any kind of extra sediments or anything like that, meat or anything that might have came off of the fat. And when it cooled off, it sunk to the bottom of the bowl. So this way you can scrape that extra off, and it was so much easier. So we are going to take all those pieces out, scrape those extra sediments off, because you want nothing but the pure creamy white tallow solid by the time you're done rendering all this down. So he's going to finish getting all the sediments off the bottom, and it's so easy to scrape, y'all. And then we're going to put those chunks back into the crock pot, and we're going to let it melt down. This is what it looks like as it's melting down, and we're just going to let this come to a complete oil again. While that is melting back down in the crock pot, I'm going to show you what you need for your setup for this last step. You're going to need a wide mouth or a regular mouth jar, a funnel, a fine mesh strainer, a small piece of cheesecloth. You're going to stack them on top of each other just like this. You're going to need a ladle. There you go. Set them up just like this. And then don't forget your lids and your rings. And dear hubby is going to do this part. He's got it all set up. He has his own way of doing things. I have my own way. He offered to do this so I could get a shot for you. So he likes to put it into a measuring cup first that has a spout, and then pour it over in there, and that's fine, whichever way is quicker for you. But y'all, these steps are important in this process. The straining the fat scraps, and then letting it become a solid, letting those sediments settle to the bottom so you can scrape them off, and then putting it back in the crock pot, melting it down one more time, and then straining it one last time. This just gets more of the sediments or anything that may be left behind. And because if you leave any meat or anything or sediments in your oil or your tallow, you're going to get a beefy smell. Nobody wants a beefy smell in a sweet pie crust like in a chocolate pie. So these steps are all very important. So you're going to fill up your jar almost to the neck. Leave a little bit of room, because if you know anything about a liquid turning to a solid, it's going to expand just a little bit. So he's going to make sure he wipes the rim of the jar very good. And the good thing about putting this hot or warm oil or tallow into the jar is it helps create that vacuum seal to seal the jar. So there you go, fingertip tight. Put those lids and bands on. And here is it after what it looks like after it has turned into a solid. And this is the last batch of tallow that we have to do from dear beloved Teddy. Look at that rich color, y'all. And as I said, if you put the liquid tallow into the jars when it's warm, it will help seal the jars better, and every one of these jars has sealed. So now what you're going to do, now that they've sealed, we are going to put them up here in our pantry with the rest of our lard is on this side, tallow is here. And look at that. Our larder is basically stocked. Look at that. So tallow here, lard here. And we're going to close the door. Y'all, I think we like that way better. We tweaked some things and we learned some things doing the tallow than we did with the lard. And we actually think that we like rendering it this way better. And the next time we have a hog, we buy a hog and we have it butchered from a local farmer, we're going to do the lard the exact same way. Because I like the way that it kept the sediments out and nothing settled on the bottom. It came out that pure color that you want and that strong solid. Yeah, there's no beefy smell. So y'all, I'm looking at cookies, pie crust, biscuits. There's not that beefy smell. Yeah, we like the way that we rendered this tallow, and we're going to start doing lard the exact same way. That, my friends, is how we render our tallow, and we're going to start doing lard the same way. I hope this has helped y'all. Don't waste anything from those animals. We're trying to get every little bit that we can. They were supposed to have saved me some bones from Teddy, manageable bones, that I was going to make absolutely healthy, beneficial bone broth that has the calcium in it. The process where you draw out the calcium and the collagen from the bones. But they forgot. So maybe the next year that we have processed, I will be able to do that with, because there'll be bigger bones, y'all, and I can get more broth, and, they'll be easier to break down. Y'all, Don't waste anything. If you are going to take the time to raise something, find out all the ways that you can use every part of that deer, chicken, lamb, sheep, goat, if you raise meat goats, what else? I just went blank. Hogs, cows, okay? Use every part of it. I hope y'all have enjoyed this video. I hope it's been educational for you. Like I said, you learn and then you learn to tweak something else until you get it like you want it. I will see y'all in the next video.